What's up everybody, welcome back to Camera Exchange. So today I got a fun surprise for you. We just got the brand new EM1x and the 12-100mm f4. So we're gonna go take some photos around the park and see just what this camera can really do. So let's get started. All right, so the first place I want to start with this camera is the overall fit and finish and just the overall feel of it. It feels great. Now it is quite a bit larger than your typical Olympus series, but I really like that. It's still lightweight. It only weighs 3.5 pounds, while your DSLRs can weigh up to about 6 pounds with a full loadout. It weighs 3.5 pounds with the 12-100 on it. So that's not body, that's body and lens. But the one thing I really do like is just the overall ergonomics of this grip. It really fits in your hand either way if you're vertical or horizontal shooting, plus you have all your button layouts matching. So it doesn't matter if you're horizontal or vertical, it feels the same and it works well. Plus the camera is fully weather sealed, which if you stick around for the end of the video, we're gonna put that to the test. So let's keep shooting and see what we can find out. All right, so expanding for the fit and finish of the camera, I do want to talk about your SD card slots. So starting off, it does have a locking card slot system, which is really cool. It's never going to swing open on you, plus a pretty heavy duty weather seal. And you do also have dual UHS 2 compatible cards, so speed's never going to be an issue, neither is buffering. Moving on to your button layout, the top button layout is going to match your bottom button layout through and through. They're completely identical, which is really awesome. So if you're shooting horizontal and you swap over to vertical, you have all the same controls that you're used to when shooting horizontally. So it's never gonna be a real big issue for you. So on that top though, you do have your exposure comp, your ISO, your shutter button, and you do have aperture and shutter speed control dials. And the exact same thing for when you're shooting your vertical shots. So it makes a very seamless transition. Now, moving on to your left side, you are gonna have your microphone hookup, your headphone hookup, and inside here, and this is a pretty notable part, you have USB-C and you also have the HDMI. Now going back to that USB-C, if you're using a USB-C to USB-C cable, you can actually charge this camera and shoot, or if you're just plugging in a USB to USB-C, you can just charge the camera via USB cable, so you don't actually have to bring a charger with you, which I thought was a really cool feature of this camera. Not to mention that you also have DC plug-in at the very bottom. And lastly, moving on to your batteries. So it's rated at 870 shots, which I feel like is probably pretty low. It's a pretty low estimation because usually when they do those estimations, it's with everything on this camera on. So I'm gonna guess it's probably gonna be around 1200 shots, but I'll really find out at the end of the day today when I've taken all my shots and I see how much battery life I have. But I'm gonna go ahead and say it's probably gonna be quite a bit more than 870. That's just my speculation. So let's keep moving and see what else we can do with this camera. All right, so now that we've talked about the overall feel of this camera, let's go ahead and talk about some specs. So starting off, you are on a Micro Four Thirds platform, which is an awesome little sensor to have, but it is packed with 20 megapixels, so your resolution is actually really nice. So is your ISO though. I was shooting about 6400 ISO earlier and they looked clean. It was great. So I wasn't bothered by the ISO capability, nor the fact that the sensor is a little smaller. It actually helps a lot with the stabilization. So this thing does have 5-axis stabilization and it can stabilize up to 6.5 stops, which is just amazing. You can handhold at crazy low shutter speeds and they come out crystal clear. Now, one fact to tell you though is if you do put the 12-100 f4, the brand new lens on it, you do gain an additional stop of stabilization, so it brings you up to 7.5 because the stabilizer built into the lens coincides with the camera and it gives you that additional stop because they're working together. So let's go ahead and take a few more shots and see what else this camera can do. All right, so now that we're taking a little break, I do want to talk about a few main things that this camera has packed in it that I think just really shine. Starting off with your autofocus system it has in it. So it's a 121 phase detection autofocus system, and they are all cross-type points. So that means you really never have to worry about catching a subject, and it does also have the deep learning technology that will capture pretty much anything from people's faces all the way up to planes up in the sky and just consistently get you that crisp, clean autofocus that you're really searching for. which makes this really appealing to any kind of sports photographer, at least for me, or wildlife photographer, because this thing is just insane with the autofocus. Now, moving on to your resolution, it is a 20 megapixel micro four thirds sensor. Now, it does have an 11 stop dynamic range at 200 ISO, and it does come down to 10 stop dynamic range at 800 ISO. So all in all, amazing dynamic range on a micro four thirds platform. Now, I do want to check out some of the other features it does have built into it. So one that really stuck out to me was the Live ND, and I want to see just how well that works. So let's go over and take some photos of some water and see what we can have happen with that. All right, so one place I really wanted to touch was the Live ND that this camera has. It's a setting that just blew me away because I love long exposures personally. I love shooting water, stars, trailing lights, anything like that is just really fun. So I'm gonna go ahead and guide you through the menu system on how to get into Live ND and how to use it properly and the most effective way. So let's go ahead and take a look at the menu. So you want to start by hitting first your menu button, and the next area we're going to go is over to your second camera. Over to your second camera setting, and in there, if you go all the way down here to Live ND shooting, you want to select that and turn it on. So now that we have Live ND shooting on, what we can actually see is if you're looking at the screen, you'll see the actual blur of the water. Now I also have this set up as a custom button on the front so I can sample between on and off. And so this is it off. What you typically see, just some water flowing. Now I put it back on and you get this really nice foggy look. So all in all, it's a really cool setting to have. And let's go ahead and take a shot with it. So I got my 2-second exposure and I got some nice foggy water, which looks awesome. So you can use this on many different areas of your photography, and it's just a really cool feature that I love Olympus for putting in. All right, so I told you all we were gonna test the camera's weather seal capabilities, and if you stuck around to the end of the video, let's go ahead and test it right now. So we have a little jet of water right here. I've told this camera's pretty well in water, so let's see how well the water seals are. So now that's been completely submerged in water, you can actually see the camera's working just fine. It didn't phase it one bit. I can take any shot I want and I'm good to go. So I gotta say, this thing is freaking awesome. Testing out the Olympus EM1x was beyond amazing. This camera is just beautiful. It feels great, it shoots great, it has some amazing features packed in it. Plus, the weather seals are, no lie, amazing. As you just saw, we put this thing to the test and it works perfectly fine still. So I would never be afraid to take this out on a sports shoot in the rain. I know I could get my shots. So that's gonna wrap up our video. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel, and also check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Show us some love there. I'll get you guys next time.